Hello again, I'm Bill DeYoung. This is the Catalyst Sessions for Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. I'm so thrilled to have Matthew McGee as my guest today. Now, here's a little something you may not know. Matt was guest number 2 on the Catalyst Sessions, which was March 26th,
Yes.
3 months and change ago. And we were just talking how he has a snappier background, and I kind of know what I'm doing now a little bit, different from those days. Hello, sir.
Hey there. Yeah, even my old video, I have lighting now from 3 sides. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you were just telling me I've got this shine on my forehead
Yeah.
here. You were saying, well, I just get a little of this, and yeah.
Powder. Yeah.
But yeah, next time you see me, I'm going to have my own little powder here. I mean, I do have my water bottle. 3 months.
Yeah.
My God. How are you? 3 months later, how you doing?
Oh, I have good days and bad days right now. There's just so much information every day. And I think I was fully prepared for June to be sort of a terrible month. I don't know why I felt that I was prepared for that, but I just said June is going to be a dumpster fire of bad numbers and bad news because, when we started, we all thought like, 8 weeks or something, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
we didn't expect it to be this long. So I felt like there would be bad numbers because I figured that our state would start to reopen. I figured that things would have to start reopening. And
So you called that one.
yeah, and I knew that there would be an increase in numbers and cases. So it wasn't that I was surprised about it, but yet uh, I don't know how much longer things can stay the way they are, and places. I don't want to even say people, but places and organizations. I don't know how they survive it if it just continues to go on indefinitely. You look at Broadway today; they announced that they're not opening Broadway until 2021. Like in January 3rd, I believe, something like that. They say that's not the date that they'll start, but it's the date that that's the kind of the cutoff date for ticket refunds.
Oh.
So that's big news, but I sort of knew that would happen for New York as well, because you're talking about a theater community that not only serves New York, but it also serves the world. I mean, people travel from all over the world to see those shows. And so there's a lot of people that get packed into those theaters. The casts are very large. So there's a lot that goes into preparation for that. So I wasn't surprised by that information today. So yeah, I'm okay. I have some things that I'm doing right now that are things I never would have been doing before, and we can talk a little bit about that, of course. But
like planting, grass plugs out in the yard, or what?
Oh well, I mean, I do take care of the yard, absolutely. But I'm represented by Level Talent Group in Tampa, and I basically let them know that with theater sort of being on hold indefinitely, that I would be much more available now for TV and film, for commercial type things. And so even since getting back with them recently, I've been out on a few auditions, have some things coming up that are exciting. So that's all good, and that's why I have this set up, because I am now recording self-tape auditions and sending them off to casting agents and things of that nature.
You mentioned that you have. Let's definitely get back to those things, because I want to. I want to keep the negative, depressing vibe going here for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, folks, but I mean, you said you have good days and bad days, and I think we all have some measure of both of those. I mean, especially working in an industry that is so inexorably tied to public event performance, events.
Sure.
I mean, and I hear that. I've talked to so many actors. You're like show number 67 or 68 or something now, and you were, as I said, number 2. We're number two. And everybody says the same thing. How do I separate? I think Katrina Stevenson said it really well a few days ago. She said something like, "How do I separate my own self-worth from my job? I'm not, my job is non-essential. Does that mean I'm not essential? Is that what you mean by a bad day? Like, what do I do with myself?
Oh,
sure. I can't do the thing I do."
Oh, sure. And, I always consider myself, I don't want to belittle what I do, but I consider myself a worker bee. I consider myself a person who, I used to laugh. There's a Rip Taylor song called "I've Done It All," and you know, where he says he's played the Boondocks and he slayed at Carnegie Hall, you know, and I've done it all literally, and I've tried to do as much as I possibly can to make a living, and a lot of what I do is now not happening. So for the first time in a long time, at 45, I have the potential of losing my Actors Equity Health Insurance in January if I can't get any work before then.
Wow.
I can't even begin to start to do the math on how much money I've lost during this that I use to sort of supplement my income. You know, I work at Disney World too. That's closed. And
But Matthew, I mean, certainly equity is making allowances for this. You know, everything is totally off the charts right now.
yeah, you would hope, and I hope so too. And I hope when we get closer to that, I read something today that the Actors Fund, which is a wonderful Broadway actor, Brian Stokes Mitchell's in charge of that, and he's looking at a way to fund people's health coverage for a while,
Right.
and you know, until they're able to open. So I'm hoping for the best in terms of that, and I have good feelings about theater opening in some way, maybe even as soon as the fall, but it won't look like it did before.
Yeah.
That you've got to be sort of ingenious, you've got to be sort of willing to work outdoors, you've got to be willing to work. You know, I mean, at Free Fall, we've talked about everything from dividers between people in cabaret seating to using the space outside to having people drive in. And we have this huge parking lot, you know, that with, you know, I always laugh about it. You know, people say, "Oh, I love all the free parking." You know, I always say, "Come for the parking and stay for the theater." You know, people love to hear that, working in the theater. But there's an enormous amount of space on that city block that we could use. But one of the things that's kind of holding us back a little bit is that Equity is not issuing any contracts right now. So the ability to hire actors that are part of Actors Equity is not possible at the moment. And I don't think they're wrong in doing that at all. I think they're looking out for everybody's safety. I think theater, by its very nature, is not a socially distanced event. Like when you're actors, when you're actors, you're all backstage. You're right on top of each other a lot of the time. You know, you share a lot of space. You share a lot of intimacy fairly quickly. You've just met someone, and then 3 weeks later, you open in a play, or 4 weeks after rehearsal, and you're in a romantic relationship with that person on stage. And so these things happen very fast. So, I think they're doing the right thing, but it does create a lot of limitations for what we can do.
Well, talk to me about, you said the things that you are doing, were you working on voiceovers, or you're working on TV?
Yep. I do voiceovers. I'm thinking about bringing back my Show Tune Sing Along Sunday show, doing it on Zoom or doing it on Facebook Live. I think that really works. I usually do a Pride parody every year to benefit Metro Wellness, and we weren't able to do that this year. We usually have it at American Stage, and of course, they're not having public performances, and rightly so. So I've been trying to think about maybe coming up with something that we could do virtually. I don't love that. I don't love that medium for theater. I just recently this weekend did 12th Night at American Stage with the Shakespeare Light, and I had a great time. I really enjoyed working with everyone. It was nice to get together, even through Zoom, with a group of actors and put on a show and tell a story. There are so many unique challenges to doing it, and I think American Stage does a really good job getting all of that together. In a way, though, it doesn't feel like theater, like I kept thinking, if I were able to play Malvolio in the theater, I could do so many different things that I can't possibly do on Zoom.
Because you're just right here rigidly, you got to stay in the box.
Yes, and I also think about the fact, like, I basically, with the help of Jill, Castle, who's a great costume, she's their shop supervisor, she got me a few pieces, but basically the cast were costuming themselves and creating their own backdrops. So I think of it like, how many designers, artisans, costume designers, wig designers, they're not able to work at all. We were our dressers, we were our costumers. It was kind of fascinating in that way. A great director in Peter Callender, who's done a bunch of stuff at American Stage, and he's great. And I think he did a beautiful job with Twelfth Night. And I would love to see a version of his show Twelfth Night set in New Orleans would be just wonderful to see on stage. And hopefully we can get there. But it's just a question of when, and we don't really know. We were really feeling good there for a while, right? Things looked good, and then all of a sudden, Florida had all these numerous cases, and it kind of made everybody nervous again and rethink everything. So I don't know.
I just feel like it's a bad dream that I just can't wake up from.
Yeah.
That every time you turn around, you're turning over on the pillow and the dream's still going on.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Is that yours?
That's
I don't
Brian.
know. So it has to be yours.
That's little Brian. I don't know what he's barking at out there, but he always is barking at something. God bless him.
And when Eric was on here a few weeks ago, I asked him if he was prepared to, as you were saying, with the plastic dividers or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So just 6 feet out, what is it, 50% of your, and doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of what theater does?
Oh my gosh, it absolutely does. And
Yeah.
I want to know a theater. I watched a great thing on CBS Sunday Morning recently about Barrington Stage opening and a couple of other theater companies opening. And they've spread out everybody and they've removed seats, and they know going in that they're not going to make any money doing it. They're going to lose money. Even on a one-man production, they're going to lose money. So, now I like the idea of opening. I think that's a solid idea, even though I know many people find it very unsafe to even thought of it to do so. And I understand that too, believe me. But the idea of losing money is just not one that's possible for a small regional theater. Right now, Free Fall's doing really well, but we can't really move forward with anything because the money that we have, we don't want to put into something that may not work. We want to kind of keep it for when we ultimately reopen with performances to the public. I don't know who he's barking at. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I'm going to try to shut the door.
Okay. This happens with people's dogs all the time. So I'll just entertain folks. Oh, are you back? I was going to have to do a little song and dance number.
I know you're going to have to do a little performance.
And I wasn't prepared. What can I tell you?
No. I named him Brian. I should have named him Bob Barker, because that is definitely what he does.
He's a barker.
Yeah. He is. But I mean, we've talked about all of it. I mean, Free Fall, just like American Stage, just like St. Pete Opera, just like everybody has been talking about all these numerous ways to maybe find a way to present something else. And I think St. Pete Opera has done a great job presenting some of their shows on YouTube. I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I think I like what they've done at American Stage. I was glad to be a part of it. Free Fall's done some of that stuff where we kind of watch national theater shows and talk with our patrons about it. Yeah. That's still quite successful, and we're not having to produce anything. And that's going very well still, which is amazing. I think there are only like 2 or 3 more presentations that they're doing. But I think one of the things that many people don't know, mainly because theater people are there's a great Kander Nebb song from the show Curtains called "There's a Special Type of People Known as Show People. They smile when they are low." And nobody knows about all of the furloughs in town. I mean, there's been a lot of people off and on their jobs, and these people who work for these companies that aren't actors, they're not the people you see in the front, they're not the people you see performing. They're all either been furloughed or they're taking salary reductions. And it's a really hard time for people who've made theater their business. And my biggest fear is the kind of talent drain that comes from a situation like this, because will these people find other jobs? They will. And will they want to come back to theater when something like this can completely just shut a company down completely?
Free Fall, as you say, though, is holding its own now.
It is, but you know what? I think so. It's because we're small. It's a small group of people. There are not many staff members. I look at theaters like I think Stageworks, it's Carla and I think another person, and I think David Jenkins at Stageworks, I believe, is the only employee. I'm sorry, of
Yeah,
JobSite,
yeah.
and
I think
I
he
know
is.
he hires people throughout the year, of course, but like a full time employees, I think some theaters have this. And St. Pete Opera and so many others, the Palladium and St. Pete, they have all these full-time employees. And so it's a very difficult, I think it's a difficult position to be in for anybody. I'm not saying it's easier for these theaters that have smaller staffs, because I think there's just the same existential questions about whether or not they'll survive this too.
American Stage has a huge staff, doesn't
It
it?
does. It does. Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of people. I don't think it's like, take the Oslo Rep. They have even more people
Yeah.
in Sarasota and some of these larger theaters. Like, it sort of makes sense. I've been trying to find this point, Bill, where I sort of understand why things happen and don't lament them and get myself into this place of just absolute utter depression. I mean, like, when you look at a theater like I think it was the Guthrie, maybe I may be getting it wrong, but a theater that's a huge regional theater said, we're not going to reopen until 2021. And they furloughed a bunch of employees. That all makes sense. They're in a big urban area. They have a huge theater company. They do big shows. It totally makes sense. There should be, though, different thoughts for these places that can do smaller productions and smaller things, because I think there's a road to them opening in a safe way. And so it makes sense for something like the Guthrie or the Goodman or these large companies to shutter until 2021.
What is Oslo? So I really haven't paid much attention to what's going on down there.
They're doing a lot of programming, virtual programming that I really enjoy, and I've watched a lot of it, and I think they're still in a holding pattern as well. I know that Florida Studio Theater did reopen their improv shows, and I don't know how, I don't know if that's still going on with all the cases in Florida, because I know that there's a really great comedy club that's also a theater in Sarasota, McCurdy's, and it's great. And they opened, and then when all these cases, the uptick, they had to, close again. So, and they did the right thing, but again, that becomes harder and harder to do.
For me, and I think you'd agree with this. There's just the most frustrating thing is there's no hope to hang your hat on. Like, I can see that light at the end of the tunnel if we can just hang on till then.
Yeah.
But it's not there. Nobody has a friggin' clue how long it's going to go on.
No, I have a weird thought, and I don't pretend to always be right, but I think we've entered into a very interesting time when people don't want to wear a mask because it's a political thing, or the people wearing a mask want to admonish people for not wearing the mask because it's a political thing. And that's become outrageous. Like, if you want theaters to reopen, you should take care of yourself. If you think you're really susceptible to this, you should stay home if you can, if you have the privilege to do so. Some people out there have had to go back to work. If we could all get back to work by wearing a mask, why would everybody not do that? But admonishing people for not doing it is not going to make anybody want to do it. No. So it's a strange time that we're in. And I think the election, I remember in 2016 how awful that summer was. I just think these things have gotten so bad.
Hey, man, it wasn't nearly as bad as this.
No, not nearly. But that same election year, you had terrible hurricanes. You had Pulse nightclub. You had all of these horrible things happening right during the push to see who would ultimately win that election, and it didn't compare to this. But right now, you have people sort of in the streets fighting for their lives. You have a pandemic. You have Saharan dust, which, by the way, comes every year. They say it's more this year, but that's not an unusual occurrence. But everything is being hyped. I mean, as long as you have a number to keep sharing, the media is going to enjoy that, because they love to be able to share just numbers growing. When the numbers start going down, you won't hear anything from them. And I don't blame anybody for that. I think we should all be very informed, but I think we need to be careful about what we ingest right now, what kind of things that we're taking in right now in terms of the way we get information. Because I think I used to think that social media was a really brilliant thing. I used to think it was a great way for me to connect with people that I hadn't heard from in a long time, a unique way for me to advertise shows I was doing. I go on there now and it's miserable. I log off in 3 seconds, you know? And,
Yeah.
and, you know,
It makes me wonder if we've just kind of come too far in the other direction, you know.
We may have, and I didn't want to get philosophical or political in this conversation because I think most people know where I stand politically without even having to really delve too deep into that. But I hope that in the end that this all I hope all this God, I don't know the best way to put it. A lot of things have been sacrificed right now. A lot of things may go under. And I hope at the end that we are able to salvage some of the things that made life so worth living. And that's the arts. And I hope we don't see too much of that go away because there is a vested interest in you know, in certain narratives being presented, you know, like I totally understand where we're at culturally, and I think it's an amazing time. It's a time for people to learn a lot of things. It's a time for people to really sit back and reflect on some of their, you know, some of their life, you know, however that, you know, whatever that entails. But I just think that in the grand scheme of things, I feel like we're losing a little bit of what makes us human and how we relate to one another. Truly.
Well, the nature of sacrifice to me is that, you know, supposed to be whatever the sacrifice is that you come out on the other side somehow better, you know. And so that's the glimmer of hope that I have, that maybe this is some kind of, I'm not a religious person at all.
Me either.
Maybe this is just some kind of cosmic purge. Say, okay, how close can civilization get to totally screwing the pooch? And will we learn from it if we, you know, we get another shot at the end of it, which I suppose we will.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Even with this being as serious as it is, this, you know, you know, I do believe in science, and I believe that this is a very serious virus, and it's wreaked a lot of havoc, and I believe in all of that, and I just hope that when we come through it, some of the things that we really had in our lives before could somewhat remain intact. I don't know how well that will go. I think it might be a different world for a while.
Well, the only constant is change, right? And this is,
yeah.
And I've always been a big subscriber to that. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's so true. It's like if the tighter you hang on to something, the harder it's going to be to watch it evolve, or, you know, in some cases go away. So you have to sort of say, well, it's all fluid, you know, and all you can, it's the same thing your parents taught you when you were little. All you can do is be the best and most honest person you can be.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
And hope for the best.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, you know, I think we will come out of this, and I think we'll be a little bit stronger for it in the end. I think this time has exposed a lot of stuff that maybe we didn't see, or maybe we saw and didn't really want to admit to. So I think we've learned a lot recently about so much, and it's weird how it took this kind of situation for us to become so aware. But I mean, it is a situation where you're stuck inside and you have a lot of time to think.
Oh, of course.
and
I got real philosophical over the last 3 months.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I mean, this interview has turned that way, and I'm usually known for being light and funny, and I will always try to continue to do that after this. But I've been thinking a lot about what we do, and you too, and theater has been such an important part of my life. I think theater taught me to really celebrate people's differences, and I've been able to have this amazing group of friends from all backgrounds throughout my entire career, and it has shaped the person I am today. So I would hate to see any of that experience change so much that we won't be doing that sort of thing again. I think that's kind of crazy to think, but I think why people feel that way right now is while you can watch other industries start to open back up and do so safely, or even thrive in this new, this kind of post-COVID, or COVID world during
I'll say
COVID.
post, yeah.
Yeah, this during COVID world, like
Right.
where we're still in it. You see certain, I mean, look at people, Netflix and Zoom and all this stuff is really, it's been a huge thing for them. And like retail sales and online sales, people are buying stuff. They keep bringing that up and showing that, I keep reading those articles about how consumer spending is up because people are home and they're buying stuff.
Sure.
But now who knows what money they're using to do it, but it's what's happening. I think theater, it will be the last to open up because it is about people getting inside the same building.
But
and
on
experiencing
the other hand, though, and this is probably something that we covered in our first conversation 3 months ago, it is an essential part of the human experience. I mean, the arts, and
Sure.
theaters, it's I mean, we wouldn't all die if there wasn't theater, but I think we'd all die a little inside.
Yeah, of course.
It has to come back.
Oh my
Whatever
gosh.
the form is.
Oh, and listen, in Tampa Bay, these companies have worked so hard. The people that work at these companies don't really know what weekends are, right? They don't do like, an 8-hour day. The people that work at all of these companies in Tampa Bay work so hard to do what they do against so many different odds. Even when there isn't a pandemic, there's something, whether, you know what I mean? There's something fighting against you to try to make these things happen. It really is a Herculean effort. Yeah. So everyone that does it really has to love it to want it to continue. And I do think we have those people here. And I do think theater in Tampa Bay will survive this. And I think we'll come out in a really good way. Things will change. And I think things will be smaller at first, maybe. But I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just unsure as to when that will be. I mean, what does that look like? Does it look like a vaccine? Does it look like a better treatment? Does it look like we need the cases to go down? I mean, there are so many factors, and I don't know. Like what I meant about social media a little while ago is I want to sometimes go on social media to learn about people or to learn something I didn't know. But I mean, it is really article after article of just how terrible things are and what the numbers are. And I understand that you need to know that, but everyone sharing it creates this, I don't know, I don't want to say vacuum, but that's kind of what it is. Like, that's all I'm seeing,
It's kind of this atmosphere of it's like a doom and gloom thing.
It really is. Now, I totally am on board with Black Lives Matter. I posted myself. Yeah. I've seen other people post things that are very educational and very interesting and things I had never thought of before. So I found all that quite, I mean, the situation is quite heartbreaking and sad, but seeing all that play out, I've learned so much. And I don't really mean that in that, but I mean, it really is the news right now is just so, it's very depressing. I know it's been bad always, and I know history, and I understand that we've had times like this, before, but no one's sharing this kind of information ad nauseum all the time. It's an interesting thing.
The trick is turn it off.
Yeah, and I've tried to do that. I really have tried to do that. I've tried to spend more time with my dogs.
I sit outside on the porch and watch the birds at the feeder,
Yeah. Well, listen, I tell you, I try my best to sort of take those moments, not take them for granted, because I used to spend most of my time looking at a phone or looking at a screen. And I do think in a strange way that screens are our future. And even at the time I'm at right now in my career, I'm looking at new ways for me to be able to embrace this technology that I kept pushing away because I was like, I'm a live performer. I do live stuff. I don't really like all this video. I don't really like all this stuff. Everyone has a podcast now, and now I'm sort of like, oh, well, what can I do for a podcast? I mean, because that's where I'm at right now.
Well, it's got to come back. I mean, it's gonna get to the point where you miss it so much, and everybody misses it so much that it's gonna feel like, can you imagine how good it's going to feel to get back on a stage again?
I don't, it will really be an emotional experience, not only for me, but for the people who are there. And
Yeah.
you're like, no one out there. I mean, it's so funny. Theaters were one of the first places to call everything off when this first became a real threat. It's kind of funny to watch how your arts organizations really do care about their patrons and the people that come into their theater, that as soon as they saw something like this coming, they shut everything down. It made total sense. And it still makes sense now, because you want to maintain, you want to make sure people are safe. You don't want anything terrible to happen to people who come to your theater. So yes, I mean, I thought when I was seeing things open as soon as like this past month, it's too soon, right? I mean, we didn't think it would be going on this long, but that's a little too soon. But I think as we get closer and closer to the fall, I have hopes that we can do something. It may not look like what we did before, but it may be new. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that in a way.
No. Innovations. Like I said, change is the only constant. We are just about out of time. I made one note to ask you, and it says Tampa Bay's Got Talent.
Yes.
Is that tonight?
Tomorrow night. I had to think about it. I was.
This is Monday. Oh, it's Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. You're the host, right?
Yes. So tonight we have a dress rehearsal, and then on Tuesday we have the show, and it's for GLSEN and a crew of Cavaliers. And basically, that organization, GLSEN, is kind of fostering safety in schools for LGBTQ plus, youth. Kind of helping their experience be a good one, providing, whatever, a young person would need in terms of that. And so I was happy to be a part of that. It started out with only like 4 or 5 acts, and now it's gotten to be more and more because Tampa Bay does have talent. And so
apparently so.
And so I was asked to be the host. Now they want me in drag, but I have this mustache, which my agent really likes. So I might be wearing a mask for the show tomorrow night that matches my gown to cover up this lovely thing here, which, like so many.
I hadn't thought of that, but that is kind of gets in the way.
Like so many, even Bill, like you didn't want to cut your hair. And I was let my facial hair grow. I have no reason to shave. I goofed off and shaved it, and I had the mustache, and I went, oh, and I started to notice that other men with mustaches would walk by me and go, I get like a nice nod of approval. And I thought, oh, I've become part of the I've become part of the mustache crew. So so that'll be interesting tomorrow night to see me. I have a face mask that's the same fabric as the gown, so it should be a lot of fun.
When? Tuesday, by the way.
I think it's going to be on. Let me think. I think it's on Facebook. I do think I think it's on Facebook Live, and I think you have to kind of go to the Crew of Cavaliers. I'll share. You know what I will? I'll share a link of it on my Facebook page because I am not sure. I know it's through Zoom, but I'm not exactly sure where it's broadcast.
But I'll attach it to this when the video goes out.
Yes. I'll try to get you that information. I should know more, but I'm kind of floating from one thing to the other. I recently had to do an audition where the only thing they had me do was eat nachos and react to professional wrestling. And I have never been more prepared for an audition in my life.
Why do I feel like you've been saving that story for the very end?
Can I tell you? Yes, we got to go out leaving them laughing, but truly, I am I have to tell you, Bill, I'm super optimistic. I think things will get better. I don't know when, but I know they will. And we just have to kind of hold on because, it's tough when you get into despair. It can be a hard thing to get out of. And I want people watching this to know that, your arts organizations are working overtime as much as they can to get everybody back to work and to get our shows going again. So,
well, we just lost Dame Vera Lynn, who said famously, "We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when." Absolutely, but we will. And Matthew McGee, thank you for joining me tonight. It was wonderful. I'm super excited. And this background was just for you, Bill. I feel like it's like the album cover of one of your favorite album covers. It's very disco, man. It's kind of like an 80s vibe. Matt, thank you so much, my friend. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. It's great.